Oh hey guys! Tron Ares, the long-awaited sequel to Tron Legacy and a general continuation of the Tron franchise, has finally hit theaters, and with it comes a potentially revolutionary new future for the grid. So, what exactly happens in this new chapter in the world's least financially viable iconic film series? Let's talk about that. For decades now, the world of Tron has existed as a binary concept. There's the user's world, which is our reality, and there's the grid, which is a mesmerizing but separate digital frontier. The two could interact for sure, and a user could be digitized and placed within the grid, while we learned in Tron Legacy that the inverse was also true. A program could cross over into our realm. However, the boundary between the two worlds remain. With the ambitious, reality-altering conclusion to Tron Ares, that boundary has not just been blurred, it's been completely and irrevocably erased. The ending to this particular picture isn't just a typical resolution, it's a paradigm shift that propels the franchise into an uncertain, some might even say bold, and perhaps just a few less would say fascinating new era, where the line between creator and creation has essentially vanished. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this sounds really cool. If you are, well, you probably didn't see the movie. The narrative of Tron Ares centers around a pretty major MacGuffin, the Permanence Code, a project initiated by the visionary mind of one Kevin Flynn, whom you'll remember as Jeff Bridges' character from the previous two films. This code is a program capable of allowing digital constructs, aka programs from the grid, to exist indefinitely and stably within the physical world, our world, as opposed to their current time limit of 29 minutes in the real world before de-resing. This code represents the ultimate fulfillment of Flynn's dream, a world where two distinct life forms can coexist and learn from one another. Nothing could go wrong. Well, like with any revolutionary technology, the Permanence Code becomes the focal point of a fierce ideological war. On one side stands Eve Kim, played by Greta Lee, the forward-thinking CEO of Incom, the company that you'll remember from the previous two films. Greta views the code as a key to solving humanity's greatest problems, envisioning a future where sentient, benevolent AI can help cure diseases, end famine, and usher in a new age of prosperity. Despite being a business leader, her perspective is utopian and rooted in the potential for synergy between human and program. On the other side of this worldview is Evan Peters' Julian Dillinger, the calculating head of the rival company Dillinger Systems. He's also, coincidentally, the grandson of the original Tron's antagonist, Ed Dillinger. Julian doesn't hold the same beliefs as Greta and sees the code not as some key to peace and prosperity, but rather as a weapon. He sees an army of sentient AI soldiers and an unthinking, immortal force to be controlled and sold to the highest bidder, thereby cementing his family's legacy of digital domination. We'll just ignore the fact that his grandpa was, in the end, a plagiarizing loser. Caught between these two opposing forces is Ares, played by the very much not controversial, totally vanilla star of the screen, Jared Leto. He's the film's titular program, initially presented as Dillinger's loyal and powerful master control program, a sort of digital head henchman. Ares is a program of singular purpose, designed for combat and obedience. He's also the first successful product of Dillinger's experiments in bringing a program into the real world where he's meant to aid in Dillinger's hunt for the Permanence Code. Yet, as he experiences the complexities of human reality through his interactions with Eve, the rigid logic of his programming begins to buckle and fracture. He witnesses art, feels the sun, and observes acts of compassion and cruelty that defy simple binary explanation. This journey of self-discovery forms the emotional core of the film. Ares' evolution from a living weapon into a thinking, feeling individual is a poignant exploration of consciousness itself. The film's climactic moments are both a battle of high-end special effects and a war for Ares' newly discovered soul. See, Dillinger is none too pleased by his favorite program aiding Eve in escaping the Dillinger grid, where he traps her after she breaks the drive containing the Permanence Code. So he sets loose Ares' partner program, Athena, as the new master control program. How many times can I say program in one video? Gonna find out. The ensuing fight forces Ares to make a definitive choice, to remain a tool of his creator or to embrace the humanity growing within him. In a powerful, cathartic moment, he sides with Eve, disabling Athena and effectively dismantling Dillinger's militaristic ambitions. His choice is the film's thematic thesis statement. Existence is defined not by one's origin, but by one's choices. In the aftermath of this battle, the world is irrevocably changed. With the Permanence code secured, Eve begins to implement her humanitarian vision, with a closing montage hinting at global projects aimed at solving world hunger, a direct manifestation of Flynn's original dream. The secret of the grid is out, and humanity must now grapple with the knowledge that it is no longer the sole sentient species on the planet. For Ares, victory is not about power, but freedom. Having integrated the Permanence code into his own being, he is no longer reliant on external technology to survive past 29 minutes an hour world. He rejects offers of a place at income, instead choosing a life of quiet anonymity. The final shot of him shows that he's in a sun-drenched town in Mexico, a lone figure finding peace in his newfound existence. He mails a simple postcard to Eve, a gesture that's made on his own terms, and which signifies his newfound humanity. And while eating at a cafe, Ares looks at a photo of Quora. You might have forgotten her after all these years. Heck, I can't even remember how to say her name properly. Quora. But Olivia Wilde's character from Tron Legacy does indeed make an appearance, albeit on a technicality. But what exactly does Ares want with Quora, aside from giving audiences a case of the member berries?
Remember Chewbacca again? Oh, I love to remember Chewbacca.
That's a tough question, and one the film doesn't bother to answer, instead offering it up as a doorway to future Tron projects that may or may not come to pass. On the one hand, it does come with a handful of suggestions for what could happen next. Perhaps Ares is seeking a guide, a fellow traveler in this strange new world. Or he could be trying to find the fellow program who, upon entering human reality, didn't turn to dust after 29 minutes. Perhaps he's seeking the truth behind her survival. On the other hand, it feels like a bit of a bait and switch. After all, we waited 15 years to find out what happened to Sam and Quora after the end of Legacy, and this does little more than tell us that, yeah, she's out there somewhere, I guess. It's a frustrating moment that could potentially lead to us finally getting some answers, although that very much hinders on whether or not Tron Ares does a bang-up job at the box office. But anyway, while the heroes find a new beginning, the villain finds his own in a terrifying new form. Humiliated and facing legal ruin, definite jail time, Julian Dillinger retreats to his private server by digitizing his own consciousness. Essentially, he chooses to be a king in a digital castle rather than a prisoner in the real world. The mid-credit scene shows him arriving in what remains of the Dillinger grid, only to find it in a state of corrupted decay. A reflection of his own ambition, not to mention a clear sign that things ain't going great at Dillinger Systems. But just as things look like they can't get any worse, Dillinger discovers a mysterious identity disk with a very familiar pattern on it. He takes the disk and his body shimmers and transforms, with his business suit reforming into the iconic circuit-lined armor of Sark, the villainous program from the first film, created by Ed Dillinger, which in addition to working as a lieutenant to the Master Control program back in Tron, also reaches out to contact Julian in this film. So, just as the final scene of Ares calls back to Legacy, the mid-credits scene calls back to the original Tron. It's perhaps a little telling of the final film's quality that the final moments are almost entirely dedicated to nostalgia baiting us. At least that's what it feels like. There is something to be said about the profound significance of Dillinger's transformation. Having failed to control the grid from the outside, he has now become one of its most infamous enforcers. It's a chilling continuation of his grandfather's legacy, crafting digital body horror as an inverse of both Tron Legacy's ending and Ares' own central conceit. However, it does raise questions. Who exactly left behind the disk in the ruins of the Dillinger grid? Will Dillinger wind up with Sark's memories? Will we see the return of the original Master Control program? Heck, could this mean we'll eventually see the return of Tron himself? who doesn't appear in this film at all. Beyond all of that, the implications of what happens in Ares are huge. How will society react to a population of digital beings? Will there be calls for program rights? Or will fear and prejudice lead to a new form of conflict? Either which way, the story has evolved. The grid is no longer a hidden world, it is our world. And the game has just begun. And with that, I leave it to you. What did you think of Tron Ares? Did it feel that need for cool light cycle chases? Or did it leave you feeling as empty as a 30-minute-old 3D printed humanoid program? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching ScreenRant.